Hi, I'm Lori and I love books, and today I'm doing the conclusion for my Mary Poppins deep dive. And the kitties decided to scratch the couch even though her scratcher's right next to it. I could show you her. There she is. She just got her new toy that she got for Christmas. That's Duchess. Say hi! So she ran away, of course. So I'm going to go over the last two movies and then two different books. So, do you really have to make so much noise right now? Okay, I think she's done. So, Mary Poppins Returns. This is the sequel to the first Mary Poppins movie. It has Michael Banks and his two children. I saw this in the theater and when it was out in the theater, and my impression was it was worth seeing once, and that was about it. It was very colorful. I didn't feel that it was very magical. And then when I got this to review for my YouTube channel, I was trying to think of what happened in the movie and the songs, and it just was a blank. Like, none of this movie really lasted with me. The actors are good, but plot-wise, doesn't make any sense. The special effects are mostly computer graphics. The one practical effect is a room turning, which Hanson did better for their music video Weird back in the day. And then you go from having something very magical to this, and then there's so much in the books that they could have taken out of the books. You know, they could have had history repeat itself where Michael Banks is now acting like his father acted and doesn't understand his children, you know. Or it could have been just about the fact that they lost their mom. The fact that the mom was dead in this was classic Disney, but it had no real points to the movie. It just, you know, it's visually very pretty, but that's about it. And I feel bad because I think the actors did the best they could with the script they had. The second, or the last movie in reviewing is Saving Mr. Banks. This is with Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson. The acting is good. The plot is decent, but the title, Saving Mr. Banks, is a misnomer. Walt Disney, the man, is the one who turned Mr. Banks into the villain of the Mary Poppins movie. And if you are the cause of the problem, you don't get to be the hero that solved the problem. The hero is P.L. Travers, who continued to write the series after the movie was made. So she was the one who saved Mr. Banks because she added to his character in the later books, showing that he was more dynamic than just a father and just works at a bank. He was into astronomy, and his fantasy was either being friends with somebody who had a telescope or having his own telescope and finding a new star. Like, these were all things that he was kind of hoping for, and so his character became more defined as the series of the books went on. So they did not save Mr. Banks. They were the ones that turned him into the villain. And then this movie is more about P.L. Travers, the person, but I don't need a redemption arc. I don't need a backstory about her. And ultimately, this just comes across as mean, like just downright mean. They're trying to make her seem like she's the villain when Walt Disney basically harassed her for 20 years to get the rights to her books to make it into a movie. She had 3 requests: that Bert and Mary Poppins not be romantic, that there not be singing, and there not be animation, and there was just no compromise. And this is according to the movie. It seemed like I never bought that Bert and Mary Poppins were together. Like, Julie Andrews is just like high class, and Mr. Van Dyke is every day, and so I never bought them as a couple when I watched the movie, and I think it would have been very easy to have left that part out and they just be friends. The other thing is, like, I don't know if they were intending to, but they kind of made P.L. Travers seemed almost like she was on the autism spectrum. It was very odd that she was doing certain behaviors. I don't know that they intended that. I think they just wanted to make her seem weird and awkward and even rude. And it's like, why are you trying to make her look bad? Like, she died. She's passed on. Let her rest in peace. You know, it just comes across like this was a movie written about a man, by men, and they don't understand that women are going to watch this movie. There were other women characters in the film. A flight attendant who had a negative interaction with P.L. Travers. And then the two secretaries of Walt Disney. There's an inner secretary and an outer secretary. The inner secretary is played by Meredith Baxter, I believe. And it just was kind of a waste of her as an actor. Like, there was one line that didn't even really need to be in the film about women not understanding what all other women on the planet are thinking or feeling. The outer secretary was this bubbly young actress, and I was really enjoying the character, but then they had her be mean towards the end where she makes this snide comment about P.L. Travers being actually Australian as opposed to being British, and it's just like, all women in the world aren't catty towards other women. Excuse me. So, like, very negative view of women. Walt Disney is seen as this knight in shining armor that saves Mr. Banks, and it's like, no, you didn't. He wasn't a villain before you got involved. And, like, why do you have to prove P.L. Travers is the bad person? Like, I don't get this movie. I don't get why Disney greenlit it. I don't get why they continue to go forward, because it just makes Walt Disney look bad. It makes the Disney company look bad. This is bad PR. And it's long, it's boring, it's depressing. It tries to show P.L. Travers' childhood, but I'll go into why that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And I don't recommend this movie to anybody for any reason. Even if you're a fan of Tom Hanks or Emma Thompson, I suggest you watch something else. The only redeeming character was the limo driver, and it does show that different people perceive us differently, but that's such a small thing in this very long movie. I had to stop it twice just to get through it, and I could have easily stopped it 4 or 5 times to get through it. It was long and just a very unpleasant movie to watch, and very mean as far as trying to prove that Walt Disney is the hero. And it's like, no, just because somebody didn't like Walt Disney back in the day doesn't make them the villain. And then they had her, Emma Thompson crying during the premiere of Mary Poppins, like she was enjoying it and grateful, and it's like, she's probably not crying because the reason you think she is. She might be crying tears of regret or tears of sadness that her character was so changed, because the movie and the book have very little in common. And so it just feels like Walt Disney came up with a movie idea, and then he wanted to attach the Mary Poppins name to have that kind of clout to go with the movie, but the movie could have existed without the Mary Poppins name. So definitely don't recommend this. Very odd choice by Disney, and I really don't think anybody should watch this. I felt so bad for the actors because I'm sure they did the best they could, but it's just a really unpleasant movie. So, because that was Disney's version of history, I did find this book, Mary Poppins She Wrote, The Life of P.L. Travers by Valerie Lawson. It is a biography, so it's written in paragraph form. I was kind of hoping it would be more like an encyclopedia. I did look a little bit at the beginning of P.L. Travers' childhood, and either P.L. Travers was very generous with her history, or she just believed what her dad had told her. So there's a lot of uncertainty about what P.L. Travers' childhood was like, based on the little bit of evidence they could find. So this is a good book if you want to. It seems like it's a little lighter. It's not trying to be, it doesn't try to make Disney seem like the villain. But if it's exactly what P.L. Travers herself was thinking back in the day, I don't know, and nobody really knows. So if you want to maybe get somebody else's perspective on P.L. Travers, this is what this is. I kind of wish P.L. Travers had written a little bit of a biography or something. And this one is based on like journal entries and letters and things. So there's a little bit more maybe historical accuracy to this than as opposed to the movie, which it appears the movie was just based, Saving Mr. Banks was just based upon audio reels taken at the time that they were coming up with the movie. So, because I didn't want to end on such a negative note, I did find a Little Golden Book classic, Walt Disney Mary Poppins. The Mary Poppins and the children don't necessarily look like the actors in the movie, but I think that Bert and Uncle Albert do look similar to the actors in the movie. And this is based on Mary Poppins, Bert, and the children going and visiting Uncle Albert and having tea on the ceiling because they're laughing too much. So that's the end of my Mary Poppins series. I do recommend the books by P.L. Travers. I recommend the first Mary Poppins movie with Julie Andrews. I recommend, if you want something that's just kind of colorful and light and fluffy and doesn't make any sense whatsoever, the Mary Poppins Returns. And then I don't really recommend Mr. Banks at all, if you didn't get that impression. Okay, so that's the end of my Mary Poppins deep dive. Let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, have a lovely time reading. Bye!